Nothing revives the nation's spirits like a royal wedding. And wedding bells are about to ring once more.
Can you tell us how Prince William proposed to you? And did he get down on one knee?
Yeah, I've been waiting to see that. That's going to stay a secret.
William is going to marry Kate!
It's a celebration for everyone.
I pronounce that they be man and wife together.
We all love a royal wedding.
Breaking all bounds, the crowd surged forward in a vast wave towards the very gates of the palace.
As we shall see, these extraordinary scenes would set a pattern for future royal weddings that continues to this day. On April the 29th, 2011, Prince William and his bride will be watched by 2.5 billion people worldwide. Less than 100 years ago, though, royal weddings were largely private affairs, celebrated behind closed doors. It was rather different in 1923 when the late Queen Mother joined the royal family. Lady Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, a 22-year-old Scottish beauty, left her home in a dress of ivory chiffon moiré. The groom was the future King George VI. Officially titled the Duke of York, the family knew him as Bertie. He was the first son of a king to marry at Westminster Abbey since 1382. In those days, film cameras were not allowed inside the Abbey. Afterwards, the newlyweds took a long route back to Buckingham Palace. Such was the size of the crowd lining the streets of the capital. Less than 5 years after the Great War, this was an occasion that lifted the whole country. On the palace balcony, Bertie proudly showed off his bride for the first time. The public adored this new style of royal wedding. The Yorks became a popular team, meeting, greeting, and looking the part. At home, they soon became devoted parents. And in 1927, their first child, Princess Elizabeth, made her first appearance on the palace balcony. A little sister, Margaret Rose, would follow in 1930. Family life came easily to Bertie and Elizabeth. While Bertie's older brother, Edward, the heir to the throne, was still a restless bachelor, the other Windsor brothers took their lead from the Yorks. And in the summer of 1934, the youngest, Prince George, future Duke of Kent, announced his own engagement to Princess Marina of Greece.
We have received so many congratulations. We want to thank everyone for all their kindness to us.
I'm so very happy and looking forward to come to England.
On November the 29th, 1934, the bridal carriage left for Westminster Abbey. The morning was so dreary that street lamps were required to light the processional route.
Not very often is it given to the average man and woman to feel that he or she is assisting in the making of history. A royal wedding is a historical occasion. All of us will go on referring to it for the rest of our lives.
Filming was still not permitted in the Abbey, although this was the first royal wedding service to be broadcast on the wireless.
The police permit the waiting multitude to surge across to the palace railings. Here, enthusiasm is rewarded as the Duke and Duchess of Kent appear on the balcony. They are joined by the King and Queen and members of both bride and bridegroom's families, including little Princess Elizabeth, the smallest bridesmaid.
While Princess Elizabeth was a bridesmaid, it was her sister, Margaret Rose, who got the better view, with the help of her doting grandparents, King George V and Queen Mary. It was the King's third son, Prince Henry, who married next. The future Duke of Gloucester had proposed at the age of 35 to an adventurous aristocrat, Lady Alice Montague Douglas Scott. She lived in Kenya and spoke Swahili, surely a royal first. On her wedding day in November 1935, she carried a bouquet of lilies and wore a brave smile. Her father, the Duke of Buccleuch, had died just 2 weeks before, and the state occasion planned for Westminster Abbey had been scaled down to a private ceremony in the chapel at Buckingham Palace.
After the service, the bride and bridegroom appear on the balcony, hand in hand, and receive a delighted acclamation from the big throng below. Then, the King and Queen joined their son and daughter-in-law and renewed cheers.
This time, both the King's granddaughters were bridesmaids. But just 3 months later, George V was dead. The new king, Edward VIII, seemed destined to become a hugely popular monarch. He fascinated the public, yet few were aware of what was going on in his private life. The king was besotted with Wallis Simpson, an American divorcee whom he was determined to marry.
Happy hours for a man who risks his kingdom for happiness. Bright times for the fascinating American woman whose graces have shaken the British Empire. The fate of empire, the destiny of monarchy, rests with the will of this young man.
In film unseen by the British public, the rest of the world caught a glimpse of the king on holiday with the woman he loved. But the Church of England and the government would not accept a divorcee for Queen. Edward faced an unprecedented choice. His decision shocked the world.
But you must believe me when I tell you that I have found it impossible to carry the heavy burden of responsibility and to discharge my duties as king as I would wish to do, without the help and support of the woman I love.
While Edward left the country, Bertie succeeded to the throne.
The Dean of Westminster brings the crown of England, St. Edward's crown, to the Archbishop.
Bertie took his father's name to become King George VI. Two weeks later, a very different royal wedding took place at the Chateau de Condé in France, where the ex-king married Wallis, with only 16 close friends as witnesses. The ceremony was in stark contrast to the pageantry enjoyed by Edward's 3 brothers. Not a single member of the royal family attended. Edward and Wallis, now the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, faced an uncertain future abroad. But at home, Britain embraced the new king and his family. The king spent as much time as possible with Elizabeth, whom he called his pride, and Margaret his joy. Now heir to the throne, Princess Elizabeth seemed keenly aware of her destiny. In the summer of 1939, the old royal yacht, the Victoria and Albert, brought the family to the Royal Naval College, Dartmouth, where the king had trained as a cadet. His daughters had their own personal guide, 18-year-old Prince Philip of Greece. They'd met before, but this time it was different. He made a lasting impact on Princess Elizabeth. It was no coincidence that Prince Philip's uncle, Lord Louis Mountbatten, had organised the royal visit. Weeks later, everything changed. The world was at war. George, Duke of Kent, serving as an air commodore in the RAF, was killed in a flying accident. His happy marriage with Princess Marina had produced 3 children. Their third, Prince Michael, was born just 6 weeks before her husband's death.
This was the moment we'd all been waiting for, to hear the end of the war in Europe officially announced by the Prime Minister.
Hostilities will end officially at 1 minute after midnight tonight, Tuesday, the 8th of May. Advance, Britannia! Long live the cause of freedom! God save the King!
The royal family appeared on the palace balcony for the first time in years, with 19-year-old Princess Elizabeth proudly in uniform.
Today, we give thanks to God for a great deliverance. Speaking from our empire's oldest capital city, war battered, but never for one moment daunted or dismayed.
With long-awaited peace came weddings in record numbers. And in October 1946, the Hampshire town of Romsey enjoyed the society wedding of the year. Lord Mountbatten's daughter, Patricia, married Captain Lord Braben. A bumper crowd had assembled to see the royal family, especially the princesses, who were both bridesmaids. Waiting on the steps of Romsey Abbey was one of the ushers, 25-year-old Prince Philip. By now, he and Princess Elizabeth were very much in love.
Onlookers could only catch a glimpse of the bride, the Honourable Patricia Mountbatten, as she drove in her car right up to the Abbey door. The bride enters on the arm of her very distinguished father.
The royal family joined with the newlyweds for the official photographs. Princess Elizabeth was especially happy. Unbeknownst to almost everyone, she and Prince Philip were secretly engaged. It wouldn't be long before they would be in front of the cameras. On July 10th, 1947, the world learned that they were to marry in November. After months of speculation, the secret was out. The engagement ring was made with diamonds from a tiara belonging to Philip's mother. Even before becoming a fully fledged member of the British royal family, Prince Philip was on royal duty.
I am so happy that on this, my third visit, my future husband is by my side. I name this ship Coronia. May God bless her and all who sail in her.
And incidentally, the launch was Princess Elizabeth's last public engagement in Scotland before her wedding.
Take thee, Philip. Take thee, Philip. To my wedded husband. To my wedded husband. To have and to hold. To have and to hold. From this day forward.
Inside, the cameras had never been closer to a royal wedding. A few precious moments were even captured using a revolutionary new process, Technicolor. This royal wedding really was the people's wedding. Austerity was the order of the day, but it didn't extend to the wedding presents.
Over 1,200 gifts have been unpacked. This case of glass includes presents from the President of the United States and the American ambassador. And from Burma, this beautiful necklace. Princess Margaret has given her sister and brother-in-law a very fine picnic hamper. And here are wedding presents from the King and Queen. Perhaps the most magnificent piece of jewellery was a diamond necklace studded with large rubies. And from Queen Mary, a beautiful diamond tiara.
The honeymoon began at Broadlands, the Hampshire home of the Mountbatten family. The royal couple were not entirely alone. Also with them was the princess's beloved corgi, Susan. There were plenty of wedding photos to enjoy. One year into married life, Prince Charles Philip Arthur George was born. His christening brought 4 royal generations together. Great-grandmother Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth, who would always enjoy a special bond with her new grandson, and of course, the King. George VI was putting on a brave face. He was overjoyed by the arrival of the Queen's second child, Princess Anne. But by 1952, his health had deteriorated. Only his doctors knew that he had lung cancer. He had to postpone a Commonwealth tour. Elizabeth and Philip travelled in his place. When they left London, a gaunt king waved them off. Less than a week later, on February the 6th, 1952, George VI died in his sleep at Sandringham. His devoted daughter returned home as queen. Her accession was proclaimed in the traditional way.
With one voice and consent of tongue and heart, publish and proclaim that the high and mighty Princess Elizabeth Alexandra Mary is now, by the death of our late sovereign of happy memory, become Queen Elizabeth II.
God save the Queen. Hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip.
Hooray! The coronation ushered in what many called a new Elizabethan age. Prince Philip was the first to pay homage.
With the sceptre in her right hand and in her left hand the orb, Queen Elizabeth II passes from the Abbey, consecrated and dedicated to her life work by the solemn and hallowed ritual of coronation.
While the new queen quickly embraced the role of sovereign, her sister was caught in a private dilemma. Stunning and petite, she was the
Princess Margaret's personal message issued from Clarence House began with these words. I would like it to be known that I have decided not to marry Group Captain Peter Townsend, and conscious of my duty to the Commonwealth, I have resolved to put these considerations before any others. I have reached this decision entirely alone, and in doing so, I have been strengthened by the unfailing support and devotion of Group Captain Townsend. I am deeply grateful for the concern of all those who have constantly prayed for my happiness.
But Margaret would find love again at the age of 29. In February 1960, the palace announced her engagement to Anthony Armstrong Jones, her talented society photographer. Rowley, the princess's King Charles Spaniel, was on hand to celebrate. Her unconventional fiancé had a studio on the raffish Pimlico Road and seemed an ideal match for the artistic, effervescent princess. The sight of her ruby and diamond engagement ring was a source of relief and happiness for all, especially the Queen Mother. Royal wedding bells were ringing again. In the new television age, the occasion would be broadcast live and watched by an astonishing 20 million people in Britain.
The royal bride arrives.
Margaret stepped from the glass coach, assisted by Prince Philip. He would give her away. Her dress was a complete break with tradition. Sketched by her future husband, its conservative V-neck and tight waist cascaded into an enormous skirt of white silk organza.
The Queen and members of the royal family have taken their places, and Commonwealth Prime Ministers. The bridegroom, and what a moment for him as his bride enters.
Who giveth this woman to be married to this man? I, Margaret Rose.
I, Margaret Rose.
Take thee, Anthony Charles Robert.
Take thee, Anthony Charles Robert.
To my wedded husband.
To my wedded husband.
I pronounce that they be man and wife together in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
As the happy pair begin their procession, Princess Margaret curtsies gracefully to her sister. And at the bride's special request, the processional music is Purcell's Trumpet, Tune and Airs.
However, some foreign royalty disapproved of a king's daughter marrying a photographer. Most stayed away. Ingrid of Denmark was the only foreign queen to attend. A year later, the royal wedding magic switched to Yorkshire. No member of the royal family had married at York Minster since Edward III.
a fairy tale princess in her ravishing gown of creamy white lace.
"26-year-old Alexandra entered on her brother's arm, both of them mindful of the father who'd not lived to see their happiest days.
With this ring I thee wed.
With this ring I thee wed.
With my body I thee worship.
With my body I thee worship.
And with all my worldly goods.
And with all my worldly goods
I thee endow.
I thee endow.
Princess Anne was once again on hand. This time, she had a 20-foot train to deal with. Times changed as the 60s unfolded. The royal family continued to expand. Prince Edward was born, a playmate for 4-year-old Prince Andrew. And the older children were starting to lead lives of their own.
When you decide to get married, ma'am, whose permission do you have to ask?
Well, we started with father, didn't we? We thought that was the right way around to do it.
We started with Mr. Phillips's father.
Well, we started then because that, we started, in fact, with the families, but you asked my father.
How was that interview?
Well, it was, he was very kind to me, actually. I was petrified beforehand.
Did he ask you what your prospects were?
What sort of prospects?
Can I put one final question to you, which I'm sure everyone wants to know the answer to, and that is, have you discussed a family, or do you have any thoughts about having a family?
Yes? Oh, no, it's much too early to think about things like that.
The 1,500 presents went on display.
And for the bridegroom, a do-it-yourself toolkit. But the couple's equestrian connections aren't forgotten. Plenty of saddlery has been sent. Princess Anne gave her husband a set of dress studs and cufflinks she designed herself, while Captain Phillips's present was a regimental brooch of diamonds inlaid with a single ruby.
A chill November day did nothing to deter the crowds.
Can I take it that you've already taken up your position for the wedding?
Yes, I've been here since 6 o'clock this morning.
And you're going to stay here until the great moment?
Until everything's cleared up and say that's another royal wedding.
How many, in fact, have you witnessed?
This will be number 10.
Dating back to?
1922.
People had come from everywhere.
May I ask you where you've come from?
Toronto, Canada.
Especially for the wedding?
Especially for the wedding.
Once again, Westminster Abbey. 26 years after his own wedding here, Prince Philip proudly led his only daughter to the altar.
I, Mark Anthony Peter.
Take thee, Anne Elizabeth Alice Louise.
Take thee, Anne Elizabeth Alice Louise.
To my wedded wife.
To my wedded wife.
I, Anne Elizabeth Alice Louise.
I, Anne Elizabeth Alice Louise.
Take thee, Mark Anthony Peter.
Take thee, Mark Anthony Peter.
To my wedded husband.
To my wedded husband.
I pronounce that they be man and...
This marked a new generation of royal weddings.
As a royal wedding, the happiness of bride and groom is linked with that of the nation, of which they and all the people are a part.
The 70s would see the monarchy reach new heights of popularity as the Queen celebrated her Silver Jubilee. the nation rediscovered its appetite for street parties, last held in honor of the coronation. By the 80s, everyone was wondering when the Queen's eldest son and the world's most eligible bachelor would marry. And just as important, whom he would marry. The public were thrilled.
You know the engagement has just been announced.
No, I didn't.
Prince Charles is engaged now to Lady Diana Spencer.
Oh, thank goodness. I'm very pleased it's been announced officially.
Diana's parents were delighted.
Can I say congratulations?
Thank you very much.
Earl Spencer himself.
Very proud and very happy.
How long had you known about it?
Well, a very few hours after it was, the question was popped.
Were you privy to discussions about whether or not it should be accepted?
I'd be a very abnormal mother if I wasn't asked and hadn't discussed it with my daughter.
The prince's fiancée, a 19-year-old kindergarten teacher, had up to this point been sharing a flat with friends. So when had the prince actually proposed?
Well,
it wasn't a difficult decision in the end. That's what I wanted. That's what I want.
it's a tremendous change for someone, if I may say, of 19 to make all of a sudden. Not back to the nursery and not back, not back to flat sharing, presumably.
Nope.
You sort of made a little grimace there as if you rather like flat sharing, and that is something.
No, I was referring to the children. I miss them.
You miss looking after the children.
Yeah.
Well, they certainly miss you, wouldn't they?
I hope so. But I think anyone in the position we've been in would feel pressure, everything. But it's been worthwhile, every bit of it. And next to it, Charles and I can't go wrong. He's there with me.
I'm amazed that she's been brave enough to take me on. And I suppose in love.
Of course.
Whatever in love means. Well, it obviously means two very happy people.
Yeah. As you can see.
Well, from us, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
No detail was too small for a public voracious for news.
It's a rich fruit cake, and every currant, sultana, raisin and cherry was individually inspected.
Wedding presents were arriving thick and fast. Jewels, pianos, even a Hoover. And like any other couple, they struggled with the guest list.
I have to set them out. You have to sort of take a few people out or whatever. It's been quite difficult on my side anyway.
Trying to remember everybody has been an absolute nightmare, hasn't it? And suddenly, I mean, even now, I suddenly remember somebody that I tried hard to remember but didn't.
The challenge of creating the dress had been entrusted to a young British design team, David and Elizabeth Emanuel.
Oh yes, as soon as we knew we had heard on the radio, we opened some champagne in the workroom with all the girls, all the ladies who worked for us, who were obviously thrilled with us.
This wedding had scaled new heights of public excitement. 24 hours before the big event, thousands were already in their places.
It's a lovely atmosphere.
We thought we'd do probably champagne in the TV and things.
Come the day, July the 29th, 1981, Britain was fit to burst. They'd chosen to marry across London at St. Paul's Cathedral. After months of speculation, the most discussed wedding dress in history was revealed as Diana alighted from the glass coach. Earl Spencer had recently suffered a stroke, but was determined to walk his daughter up the aisle. At the altar, Prince Charles was waiting, dressed in the uniform of a Royal Navy commander and supported by his brother, Prince Andrew. Above the organ music, he assured his bride-to-be, "You look beautiful."
I, Charles Philip Arthur George.
I, Charles Philip Arthur George.
Take thee, Diana Frances.
Take thee, Diana Frances.
To my wedded wife.
To my wedded wife.
I, Diana Frances.
I, Diana Frances.
Take thee, Charles Philip Arthur George.
Take thee, Philip Charles Arthur George.
To my wedded husband.
To my wedded husband.
To have and to hold.
To have and to hold.
From this day forward.
From this day forward.
For better, for worse.
For better, for worse.
I pronounce that they be man and wife together.
This time, a global audience of 750 million were watching. The mother of the groom and father of the bride followed the newlyweds back to Buckingham Palace. From the palace balcony, it looked as if the entire country had turned up. The prince answered the calls to kiss his bride. A royal first.
Wonderful, absolutely fabulous. Oh, great. She was beautiful. Oh, it's too fantastic to talk about, really, isn't it? Oh, I cried. I couldn't help it.
You cried?
I did, yeah.
William was soon joined by Harry. Quite a character from the start. Meanwhile, Prince Charles's brother, Prince Andrew, had fallen in love with Sarah Ferguson. From the moment they announced their engagement in 1986, it was clear that this royal couple were going to be different.
We were made to sit next door to each other at lunch at Ascot.
Yes, and you made me eat chocolate profiteroles, which I didn't want to eat at all.
I then didn't have them, so I got hit. Then it started from there. I think that's probably where it...
I was meant to be on a diet.
And that was the basis of a romance.
Yes.
There are always humble beginnings. It's got to start somewhere.
Could I ask you what you like about each other?
Oh.
Wit? Charm?
Yes, probably.
Yes.
And the red hair.
And the good looks. Sorry.
Yes. Could we?
I'm watching carefully. Go on.
You're going to be hit.
Miss Ferguson, how would you describe that lovely ring?
Stunning. Red. I wanted a ruby. Certainly, it's a lovely stone, and I've got red hair too.
Do you have any advice, sir, for your brother following you into marriage?
Dream of giving you advice.
I think it's about time he settled down, sir.
Do you?
I'm asking you.
Very difficult question.
His reputation
He obviously
precedes
feels it's time he said.
Do you think it will clip his wings, sir?
precedes it, sir.
What reputation?
Do you think it will clip his
How dare you
wings?
impugn my brother's
I'm
honour?
not impugning him. I just understood.
Okay, Linda, well, thanks a lot anyway. Okay? Okay then. Right.
Work began on the wedding dress in the hands of designer Linka Chirac. Like every bride, this one was full of ideas.
That I don't think there will never be a dress to match it.
The royal family were heading back to Westminster Abbey once more. Prince Andrew, the newly created Duke of York, rode with his younger brother, Prince Edward, his supporter. It was a big day for the bride's father too.
You're feeling proud?
Unbelievable. And I think played around extremely emotional.
It was a dress to wow the nation. Ivory Duchesse satin, a bugle-beaded bodice, padded shoulders accentuated by bows, and to top it off, a bustle flowing into a 17-foot train adorned with an A for Andrew. Her attendants included 4-year-old Prince William.
I, Sarah Margaret,
Take thee, Andrew Albert Christian Edward.
take thee, Andrew Albert Christian Edward,
With this ring
With this ring,
I thee wed,
I thee wed,
and with all my worldly goods
and with all my worldly goods,
I thee endow.
I thee endow.
In the name of the Father,
In the name of the Father,
and of the Son,
and of the Son,
and of the Holy Ghost.
and of the Holy Ghost.
Amen.
Amen.
And then the party began. The new Duchess of York thanked the team she called her little people. On the palace balcony, the bride played to the crowd. Before the now mandatory kiss.
A tear of joy was wiped away by the new bride.
Amid all the excitement, the royal family abandoned the balcony to join the crowds. The Yorks had 2 daughters together, Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. But the course of true love never did run smooth. In 1978, Princess Margaret was the first of the modern royal family to divorce. The marriages of the Queen's 3 older children were not to last either. By the summer of 1996, they were all over. 1 year later, Diana was dead.
Shortly before Christmas, Commander Timothy Lawrence became the second husband of the Princess Royal.
For all the sadness of the 1990s, there were also moments of joy. Princess Anne, by now the Princess Royal, remarried in December 1992 to Commander Timothy Lawrence. Only close family were invited to the Balmoral service. And in 1997, the Queen and Prince Philip celebrated their golden wedding anniversary. At 2 celebration luncheons, each paid tribute to the other.
Of course, after 50 years of experience, I find there's a great temptation to give advice. However, I think that the main lesson that we've learned is that tolerance is the one essential ingredient of any happy marriage. And you can take it from me that the Queen has the quality of tolerance and abundance.
often I fear Prince Philip has had to listen to me speaking. Frequently we have discussed my intended speech beforehand, and as you will imagine, his views have been expressed in a forthright manner. He is someone who doesn't take easily to compliments, but he has quite simply been my strength and stay all these years. And I and his whole family owe him a debt greater than he would ever claim, or we shall ever know. Thank you for helping us to celebrate a very special day in our lives.
The decade ended on a high note in 1999, when Prince Edward married Sophie Rhys-Jones. Like the royal family of old, they chose to marry at St George's Chapel at the family home of Windsor Castle. The invitation said no hats please, but some guests interpreted this in their own way. The 33-year-old public relations executive wore a Samantha Shaw dress of ivory silk, sprinkled with glass and pearl beads. Her train was short by royal standards. Sophie was about to become Countess. On the morning of the wedding, Prince Edward had been created the Earl of Wessex.
I, Edward Anthony Richard Louis,
take thee, Sophie Helen,
take thee, Sophie Helen,
to my wedded wife.
to my wedded wife.
I, Sophie Helen,
take thee, Edward Anthony Richard Louis,
take thee, Edward Anthony Richard Louis,
to my wedded husband.
to my wedded husband.
The wedding band, of traditional Welsh gold, was a bit stubborn. Sophie wore one of the Queen's tiaras. Then, it was out into the streets of Windsor. The wedding hit just the right note with the public, who were delighted to see the Queen's youngest son with his new bride. Windsor was a more intimate royal wedding setting. It would be here, again, that the royal family and the public gathered to mark a new chapter in the life of the Prince of Wales.
It's a real love story, which is quite nice. Everybody likes a love story, and that's quite sweet.
On April the 9th, 2005, Prince Charles married Camilla Parker Bowles. Following a civic ceremony at Windsor Town Hall, the family and their friends arrived at St George's Chapel for the wedding blessing. The bride wore a porcelain blue silk dress by Robert Valentine and gold-leafed feathers by Philip Tracy. This, the most recent of our historic royal weddings, was followed not by a balcony appearance, but a walkabout ahead of the reception. But the appeal and allure of a royal wedding remain as strong as ever. And Britain is getting wedding fever all over again.
William Wales. Catherine Middleton.
For Prince William and Catherine Middleton, love came calling at Scotland's oldest university. And Catherine has become part of a prince's life as he forged his new career in the armed forces. Now it is their turn to take centre stage.
As you may recognise now, it's my mother's engagement ring. So of course it's very special to me. As Kate's very special to me now as well. It was only right that two were put together. But it was my way of making sure that my mother didn't miss out on today and the excitement and the fact that we're going to spend the rest of our lives together.
Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
Did it put a smile on your face this morning?
Yes, it did. Yes, it cheered me up no end.
He's a cute boy, isn't he? Yeah.
Oh, that'll be good. She's a nice girl.
I think it's good news. It would be good if his mother could see him now. She'd be very proud. I think it's history in the making.